Okay. We are live. Do we know if anyone is in the room with us? Is the question. 11 people in the room. Okay, cool. Well, as you can tell, for the 11 people that are joining, and we get some people joining here, this is our first time doing this. So welcome to the grand experiment of our first virtual shop talk. So nice. I see a lot of familiar faces popping into the comments. This is fun. All right. Well, instead of just talking to the void, the goal of this is really to replicate what we've done in person, what we call shop talks. And we've done this at a variety of different conferences, really starting with AEMP. But the whole purpose is that you guys go to a lot of fleet conferences, you go to a lot of trade shows. There's a lot of one-way conversations, sitting in presentations, which are all valuable. But a lot of the value comes from sort of the peer-to-peer best practice sharing. And we wanted to create a space actually for that. And those have been really well received in person. And so we're trying our hand at seeing how this works virtually and to see if this can be something we can do more regularly. So the goal here is we've got 3 close friends, Ernie, Kevin, Brian, that I want to let introduce themselves. But we're going to try our best to try to pull in you guys, the viewers, into this conversation as well, and see if we can make it as conversational as possible throughout, instead of you guys, just sitting back and listening to the 4 of us chat the whole time. So we'll see how that goes. And thanks for taking this experiment with us. So to kick things off, my name is Ben Preston, co-founder of GearFlow. If you were here to learn about GearFlow, you were in the wrong place. This is not what this is for. So if you were interested to learn more about GearFlow, feel free to chat with us afterwards. What we're here to do is have a conversation about what keeps you up at night from a fleet manager position and fleet ops more broadly. What largely this turns into is a bit of fleet manager therapy, which all of these guys in the room have lots of problems that keep them up at night and they rarely sleep, hence why Kevin's actually in the truck right now. So what we're going to do is start going around this virtual room here. I'll let each of you guys introduce yourself, role, company, and then rattle off the one thing that's top of mind that you may or may not be losing sleep over, and we'll kick things off from here. So Ernie, how about you start us off, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having him, Ben. Ernie Stevens, Executive Fleet Director at Aldridge Electric, north side of Chicago. 20-some years in the industry, doing a little bit of everything. And in my spare time, I am the chairman of the board at AEMP for a few more weeks. I will be passing my tenure off to John Kay here at ConExpo. What keeps me up at night? It's no longer the kids. That was my 20s and 30s. Middle of the night, babies crying. So at this stage of life, really, it's the people, and not really that I'm managing equipment anymore. It's really managing the careers and the people that are under us, and how do we keep them innovating and doing the roles that we've created for them.
Nice. Yes, we're definitely going to dive into that. The world of retention is the other side of the labor problem. So we'll dig into that a little bit more. How about Kevin in the car? How about you go next?
Yeah, excuse me, Kevin Berger with Hua Enterprises. We got a bunch of other subsidiaries of different companies doing seeding and mass grading, oil and field what type of work, and you name it. But the director of equipment operations here, so I do travel quite a bit heavily. Got nationwide work across the, I'd say about currently 14 or 15 different states currently. One of the items I like to be bringing up today would be equipment bidding or estimating reasons and high quantity of items that I'll be personally searching down amongst the dozers, scrapers, and other specialized equipment.
Awesome. What are you losing sleep over, Kevin?
There's a lot. Just trying to stay on top of all the upcoming work, and sometimes you can wake up knowing like, oh no, I forgot to call on that for these 3 different items coming up on the project that's bidding or bidding support for the estimating team, or current projects that are in a dire need of something, or if it's something that you forget to tell one of your people that work for you, then it's now on their lap to go down the foot race to get that done completely.
Nice. Yeah. So I think naturally there's a lot of the equipment, CapEx planning, game planning that we get into. And I know some of you folks are kind of in the process of a lot of that right now. So that'll definitely be topical. But Brian, how about you go next? And
Sure. Brian Conley. I'm the corporate equipment director for Superior Construction. I've been in Superior about 10 years, been in the industry a little over 20, close to 25 now, bounced around a little bit. Superior is predominantly a heavy civil contractor. We have two main divisions, one in the Midwest, one in the Southeast. So I kind of split my time between the two. And really what's kind of keeping me up at night is people. I know Ernie kind of touched on that, but it's specifically in our management role of people and finding the right people and keeping them. And it's also the amount of people that are tied to a lot of things that we do. So I don't know, a lot of you probably have to-do lists and checklists, right? And the amount of things in kind of our roles where you can't check something off your list until 2 or 3 other people get back to you or answer you something, really kind of is what wakes me up at night and going, oh man, I need to finish that. Or, oh, I need to call this person again. So.
Awesome. Well, nice. Well, let's start there. And yeah, as you guys are kind of entering, feel free to drop a comment too on, one thing that is keeping you guys up at night, whether it's something that has already been mentioned or maybe something that hasn't been, and hopefully we can cover off on that. We can also pull you guys into the conversation. So my behind the scenes guru here will help with that as we start seeing these comments. So, all right, well, let's start on the people side. So Ernie, Brian, you guys both touched on it, but obviously, it's really painful to replace people, especially people that have been at the organization for a while. I think replacement happens both as people are, on their tail end of their career and retiring, which is happening more and more, or it's just a victim of burnout and some other things. So I think a lot of the attention is spent on, bringing new candidates in and top of the funnel on your candidate pool. But talk to me, Ernie, first on, your approach with how do you keep your team, happy and healthy and energized, and how do you guys approach that at Aldridge?
Yeah, the big thing is you have to show it on paper first. You have to show the growth. Like everyone's in a role currently, but how long are they going to be in that role? You got to kind of keep them entertained for the future role and have that vision to. And then what steps do they need to take and how do they need to learn to get to that next role? So you've got to be able to set them up their career growth for each individual role and how to get them back up to the top. And at some point take over for you, right? So with that, when I came to Aldridge, it was a very flat department. Everybody reported up to the top dog and not really siloed. Everybody did a little bit of everything. Everyone was responsible, which typically means no one's responsible. Who's the ultimate stopgap? So I took that very flat organization and broke that out into kind of 3 different groups. So I have the field-related items, shop-related items, and acquisitions, which also includes disposals. So from there, I was able to put different steps and gaps and just show more of a vertical structure. So all these people have room to grow, and now I have key metrics of training for them each year, and whether it's just regular communications, A&P type trainings, networking, cat deer specific training, or they're going to get more time out in the field if they're some of the junior rangers, right? And as those people get more managerial roles, I'm going to have people under them, and they're doing more of the administrative side, but getting a little bit of field time. So trying to just get a well-versed kind of atmosphere of the whole construction industry. I know Kevin and Brian pretty well, and our backgrounds, we were lucky enough to be, just well-versed in everything. We all spent time in the shops, time in the field, time managing the whole nation of something, whether it's cranes or preventative maintenance. You're dealing with trucking, drilling, concrete paving. So how do you take that to the next generation and get them in as just an overall view of what is out there for them? So having a lot of fun, just now that I've got the new org chart in place, now it's putting the key metrics behind how to get to the next level. It's working out good. Everyone's excited so far.
Nice. Yeah. Can you kind of break that out a little bit more? So tactically, what did that look like? So first it was setting the org chart in place, but maybe use an example. I don't know if you're take one kind of chunk of the org chart. What did you do next as far as KPIs and kind of articulating what that path looked like?
Yeah, the field was the biggest change for us. Kind of had all rental requests, repair requests coming into one fleet email, and whoever was up next would answer it in kind of a centralized dispatching. And we broke that out into the different segments of the company. So I've got the power group, the transportation group, and the mission critical group. So now each one of them have their own dedicated staff to facilitate rental needs, acquisitions. I need a repair, I need a service, whatever happens within that division of the company. They've got their own dedicated person within the equipment group to then service them. So it's kind of, you get the one-on-one attention and the buck stops with him, right?
Nice. Yeah. And Brian, how about you? What does that look like at Superior? Anything that you guys have formally put in place to help on the retention side, whether it's, career pathing or if it's, getting creative with comp benefits, anything like that?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of a little bit of both. So obviously we want people to stay and stay at our company and be happy. They have to be compensated well, right? We all kind of know that, right? But we also have to make sure that they feel empowered to do their job too. I've noticed that more when people don't feel empowered or they don't have true responsibilities, they kind of float around. They just don't feel as happy, right? They don't feel as satisfied. I think 95% of people, once they complete a task, there's that sense of accomplishment. And if they truly don't have those deliverables, sometimes it doesn't always work. One thing that I've done in my company is we had hired a younger equipment manager that had less field experience. I kind of paired him with an older, very heavy shop and mechanically inclined background, a 30-year guy, right? So those two work hand in hand together, and they kind of learn from each other and it's helped both of them, right? The more of the mechanically inclined guy who's got some more computer skills, and the computer skill guy has some more technical skills, which really helps because in a lot of our roles, you can't be a true equipment manager or manage any kind of fleet if you don't understand at least how the repair process works. I've told them before, I said, you don't need to know how to fix it. You need to understand what goes into those repairs and stuff. So that's it's something that it's been going on for just over a year now at Superior, and it's been a big win for us.
Cool. Well, we got a good question from David. David, if you're listening, we actually are going to try to invite you on this virtual stage if you accept. But while maybe we work out how to do that, the main question here is for any of the three of you guys, but how much time and effort goes towards the people, manpower versus the actual fleet. I think Ernie, you even put it that you've shifted from managing equipment to managing people, and is the biggest challenge, competence, retention, recruitment, or something else. So I'll let any of you three take a stab at this one.
Yeah, I'll take a little stab at that one. So, Ernie had said exactly what basically Brian and I have been involved with the same type of past experiences. I'm on the same boat as Ernie right now, except for you're rebuilding a structure. I'm actually building from scratch of a field system, and every point you had point out of a procurement side, the shop side, the field side, you and I haven't even talked about that, and I've already got that split out on my side of the fence too. So it's past experiences of same type of contractors between Brian and I and me and Ernie. It's more of a global aspect of construction industry of segregate your channels and run your channels downward and stacking people up in the right spot. You might have to move some people around to fit their lifestyle needs. I heavy travel right now. I got a lot of my people are traveling very heavily, full-time mechanics on jobs for about 6 months, living with their wife and kids in trailers, moving off to the next location somewhere across North America. That's because they want to do that. That's you try to put somebody in the wrong spot that they don't want to do. You're going to fail at it.
Yeah, I guess a follow-up on that, unless Ernie, Brian, you had additional thoughts there.
I was just gonna, I can add a little bit. So I think it kind of changes as you kind of progress. Like Ernie kind of mentioned, he's newer to Aldridge, right? He's probably spending a lot more time right now, kind of building up the people. But a year from now or 2 years from now, as you kind of get that core group of people under you and working for you, I think it'll be a lot closer to 50-50, because not only do you not have to be looking for new people all the time, but you also have the right people to manage your fleet underneath you, so you can kind of balance it. Where right now it may be 80-20 or 70-30, right? And we can, at some point in a lot of our careers, we've all managed fleet and we all can do that. We just have to make sure we get the right person to do that, so we can kind of focus on the bigger picture things. Because once you get everybody, Ernie kind of hit on it, then how do you keep them? How do we keep people trained? How do we keep advancing careers? Because again, if people aren't advancing, they're going to leave.
Yeah, I think the main part of like what I'm doing is looking at what everyone is doing in the group, like looking at the processes that we do. They're so painstaking, and like the tech gap there from every company, and every process is different at every company. So it's really trying to streamline some of those processes and make their jobs easier so they can be more effective in their role. And that's why it's so much focused on the people. Like I haven't approved an invoice, haven't actually bought a piece of equipment since I've been here. It's more about learning what's troubling their role and how do I streamline some of that.
Well, last question on this topic. I was going to go to Kevin, but he's on the road, so he's in and out. So I'll kick it to you, Ernie, because I know that you traveled a ton. I'm sure, Brian, you did too, but I know at one point in your career, you were saying 80-90% travel. So curious, how do you protect and manage your own time? And kind of a follow-up to that is, how do you prevent sort of these like knowledge choke points that cause a lot of the long hours and the burnout, where certain people are the only people that are being relied on for certain tasks where it feels like they can't get away. So curious if you can to speak to those 2 points.
Yeah, the travel's the hard part. I was 80-90% the last 4 or 5 years. And before that, I've kind of always been more than 50% up until recently. I got a nice 8-minute commute and travel 10-15% maybe when I want to or when I need to. You kind of have to lead by example, and you got to get home. You got to make your rounds. You got to do the proper planning. So when you are traveling, you're being as effective as you can. You really stick to that plan. And I know it's hard with varying flight schedules and just even the weather. Like, what are you trying to do in what season? So when you're working in the Midwest versus the South, you really have to kind of plan what time of year that is too. But I think with the knowledge gap, you kind of have to have those key people in every region to lean on and be the boots on the ground when you're not there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think, making sure they have that authority level to take care of stuff when you're not around.
Yeah, Brian, curious on that point. Is there anything that you guys are doing at Superior to kind of make sure that there's no knowledge bottlenecks, right, that are falling down when someone takes PTO?
Yeah, we're trying to do that. We're trying to, number one, create a little bit of not necessarily redundancy, right, but more cross training, right, where other people at least know how to do someone else's functions or job functions when required or as a backup. And we've also tried to implement some technology and some software and stuff to try and help alleviate some of that as well. I was one for the last 4 or 5 years. I was kind of putting off any kind of new software or new tech just because I didn't want to take on the amount of effort it takes to, roll out a new system or learn something new. What we had wasn't necessarily broken. It did work, but it definitely created some choke points. So we've rolled out a couple different, equipment softwares and solutions, and it's already shown a big benefit for sure, because not only is it, it's opening up some of those choke points, and it's also giving us a chance where, if you can click, approve a work order by your phone instead of having to log into a desktop, maybe that person is out on vacation or out sick and will check their phone once a day and kind of clean everything up. So that's helped as well. I finally just got past that point of, hey, we've got to spend a little more money to be a little more efficient.
Kevin, are we back? All right, cool. I'm hoping Kevin's back. Kevin, Kevin, blink twice if you can hear us.
One of the challenges with travel. There you go. That's a perfect spot. I'm in a location that has nothing.
Yeah, exactly. This is real time pains right here.
Got to hook him up with Starlink. That's one of the big things we're putting on a lot of our travelers.
Right. Well, cool. Let's keep powering through this. So, curious from the group, those that are with us, drop in a comment on the people side if you have questions, comments, things that are top of mind, questions for these guys. Because I was going to segue into a bit of the tech gap that Brian was referring to. So keep it going, but drop stuff in, and we can actually invite you on stage here to kind of voice either your opinion or your question. So we'd love.
I'd say my challenge there for David's question is the generational differences. Every generation is so different in what they want out of a career and what they bring to the table. And now that we're kind of in that next phase of life, there's a whole nother generation that's coming out of college. And so we're trying to figure out what they're up to and what they're going to need. I felt like I just had the millennials and how to really get them to the next level. And now I've got a whole nother generation under them that we're working with now.
Mm. So Brian, you mentioned on the kind of like you're looking at some of these knowledge choke points as opportunities to actually invest in some tech to help there. I know all of your companies are growing, like scaling like crazy. You guys do a lot of the infrastructure work. It sounds like there's some, I know obviously Aldridge on all the energy needs. So there's just a ton of work. So talk to me about, what areas you guys are focused on to help support scale, things that you guys are currently doing today that won't continue to work that way without investing in those areas as you double your fleet. So Brian, did you want to kind of speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, we've noticed several things because we are kind of spread out. We're multi-state and multi-locations across states. And, if we're trying to source a piece of, rental equipment or even just a piece of equipment in general, what's the quickest, fastest way for us to get it from a site if our yard is 200 miles away, right? So, before it's typically, our superintendent calling someone in our office and then trying to, that person will take the phone call or the email, then, hey, is it a rental? Is it internal? And then setting up trucking. So we're looking at solutions at how we can streamline that and kind of get that into an all-in-one shop. And, having more of a global view of our fleet and also what's available, what's around maybe that location. So we've kind of honed in on that as an easy win for us because we've got some different types of work. In the Midwest, we tend to do smaller projects like bridge projects. And then down in the Southeast tends to be more like new construction, new road and bridges. So the Midwest jobs, they could have a piece of equipment jump around between 3 different jobs in a week. If we're demoing a bridge, that excavator with a hammer may jump around from job to job. So how can we be the most efficient with getting that equipment? And then once it gets there, right, how do we check it in, make sure it's not damaged, make sure that the superintendent knows that it's coming so they can get an operator there, all those kind of things. So that's really what we kind of honed in and focused on right now is how to streamline that process.
Kevin, if I know we're kind of back in and out, but can you hear us okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Cool.
Just a little bit of struggles. Laptop's
Nice.
had to get a little temperature sensitive.
No, you're good.
So
yeah, we all said before joining, if any of you guys see Kevin start to pass out because his window's closed, please drop a comment in so we can send paramedics. But Kevin, I know, we, as you're in and out, we're talking a lot about, obviously you're on the road a ton. And in our prep call, you also talked about how you just acquired a bunch of equipment that I think there are drills maybe that you're the only guy that knows drills. So we're talking about how do you prevent sort of these knowledge gap or choke points in your processes to make sure that jobs don't slow down and especially as you guys continue to grow. How are you approaching that today?
Well, doing a few lunch and learns. I mean, I was actually just down in Texas where we have about 9 drills running down there, and spent some time out there in the field to really not just do training, but fix some of their operational mistakes for drill performance, for example. So went down there, jogged around about 3 or 4 different operational guys and talked with all the operators, and now they're drilling more holes in a shorter time period as well. So they're happy. I'm happy. Spread the knowledge.
And then you've just on the massive side of just massive excavation on the scraper, the machines. Putting together a PowerPoint, starting at the estimating office, getting out to production, working with the operators, training my people, the equipment managers are working under me, the same concepts, do's and don'ts to prevent the major problems with the machines. I primarily use a lot of quad track tractor scrapers with pans, pulling pans around, and they're very, very highly costed maintenance item. So, just keeping the operation teams from damaging the track systems of the undercarriage and being very costly and a heavy amount of downtime as well. So a lot of training involved in teaching my people so they can go out and do their own training with their specific locations they're in charge of.
Is there anything because I know that you were looking at, similar to Brian and Ernie, you were kind of seeing some of those as opportunities to invest in tech to help you guys scale and grow. Anything that you're looking, on the tech side to help those processes and make you guys more efficient there?
Yeah. Constantly looking at different technologies. I mean, just, are we allowed to talk about gear flow or not?
Well,
no, please don't.
That's one. I mean, yeah, you send me the check in the mail, but yeah, gear flow, we've been looking at it, but there's other, we use a different system on our operational side, and it doesn't tie well with our financial program. It's just working some bugs out, and it's constantly adjusting and tuning things. And there's other programs out there that we're still looking at, and even just simple things of just not just planning and scheduling, but there's a lot of softwares out there on MachineWise and
right.
We're trying to use elevations and propeller. We got a ton of drones. We're flying our drones for LiDAR work, and we're tying it into quite a bit of different things. And then there's other devices we're using on the machines that tie in with the drones as well, without speaking too much of our little fun secrets we do.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're trying to get fewer systems, not more, right?
Yeah.
Can we pull in Carol's question? What's up, Carol? I wish we could invite you in, but I know you're streaming on LinkedIn. I'll have to find you in Vegas. But Carol talked about I think he might have had a typo, Carol, you said AI, not ID, but you might want to maybe clarify that for us. But have you implemented any, I think, AI-based system to help produce KPIs?
Yeah, I can start with that. So on our vehicle fleet, we've got forward and rear facing cameras on all of 100% of our fleet. And so we've got the driver scorecard, all the KPIs, the metrics, trying to manage that, and so much information coming back. So we basically work within the system, and AI has a good platform there where it's, as opposed to focusing on the good or the bad, it's setting up the standard and just who's my top 10 problem drivers that we need to chat with, right? How do we fix that? And then it really puts a tag on those drivers I'm not focusing on all 1,100 drivers right now. I'm going to focus on those 10 and really just working with them. And what's their problems? What do they need training on? What do they need to focus on when they are driving? Is it cell phone, seatbelt, speeding? So it's more about focusing on the actual problems that they're having and addressing those issues. It's just hard to do it when you've got 1,100 drivers as opposed to, well, who are my problem childs, and how do we identify and then address those issues?
What are you, Brian?
So we don't have any full-on AI implemented, real software, but we are using some of our newer equipment software that does use AI to help us. So we can, there's a box we can type in, hey, what equipment is underutilized this week, right? And it'll kind of pull that data for us. Instead of me going back and running a utilization report for the last month, I can ask it that question and it can pull the top 5 pieces for the last week. So really, again, kind of going back to streamlining our process. So we don't have a full AI built platform, but we're definitely starting to implement it and use it where we can. And, it could be something else. What equipment do I need to sell? And, we've got some preset parameters for age and hours, and it can pull, the top 5 pieces that are over age or over hours. So that's the one thing we've kind of started doing in the past really 6 months to kind of try and take a lot of those kind of reports I was building by hand and really just kind of pull in the top 5.
Ernie, you want to jump on this follow-up question from Carol?
Oh yeah, the attrition for cameras. That is a myth of our industry. I think we're well beyond that point. You get a free truck from your company. That company can kind of do whatever they want, and let alone force you to drive safe. And how did we tackle that? Well, we the pilot program was with all of our company leaders, and it wasn't just company trucks; it was their personal trucks as well. I actually just bought one of the owners a new Denali GMC SUV. It's in the shop getting a forward and rear facing camera right now in it. So that's the owner of the company, and he's going to lead by example. And then just on the actual stuff we catch, I want to say it's more than 1 or 2 per month of accidents out there in the field that we're not at fault. And we're able to show the police right there within the next 20, 30 minutes. Hey, what's your email, officer? Yep, I got it. I'll send you the video. And we're able to solve that right there. We had a vehicle end up in a hotel lobby a couple of weeks ago, got sideswiped on some ice and reverted over, hit into the lobby. Nobody injured, thankfully. But we had the other company's risk department calling us, asking for a claim number because they wanted to sue and get our insurance. And I'm like, no, that's actually not it. We have the video. You guys are at fault. We're going to need your claim number. So it's sharing examples like that with the guys in the field and letting them know this isn't Big Brother. We're actually here to help you guys. So to me, Carol, it's all about the communication in the top-down mentality.
Yeah, I would say just to kind of add to that, on that, if you're going to do something like implement cameras and not kind of enforce it across the board, you will lose some buy-in, right? Like Ernie said, if you get leadership to do it, or you're really going to take that truck away from the 20-year superintendent because he's not a safe driver, you got to do it, right? And the first time that doesn't happen is when you'll start to lose some buy-in from other people because, oh, so-and-so still gets his truck and I know how he drives, right? So I think if you really implement and enforce it, you can drive it home pretty well.
I think Clint had a question. Can we pull Clint in here? All right. Look at that.
Yeah, man.
We are in the future.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah, I was just, Brian, I thought your comment was very interesting because, I'm up in Alaska and we get all over the state, right? We got a fly stuff, we got a truck stuff, we got a barge stuff. And to Ernie's point, right, with just generational and people's comfort in, a phone call or an email, I was just curious how you were able to keep all that stuff moving, right? I guess smooth communication.
Yeah. So kind of what we were the same way. We still kind of are. I'd say we're getting better. What we kind of first started doing is creating some shared inboxes, right? So everybody can see, like everybody in the equipment team can see it, whether it's logistics, procurement, the rental side, whatever. Everybody has that one mailbox, they can view it. And as we kind of got better, we tried to figure out, okay, if the superintendent's still going to send a text message or pick up the phone and call, then when we go through the process to either dispatch a tech or send a piece of equipment, our group is then sending that email to the shared inbox as well. So even if somebody does get a phone call, they can kind of back it up with an email after the fact. There is some tech out there now that we're kind of demoing. We're in a beta version of where it's kind of pulling all that information together and putting it all in one spot. And Ben may have some more information on that in the near future, but again, it is a way, because that is our biggest problem is, right, how do you combine text messages, phone calls, and emails? And, we were talking about rolling out this demo, and our superintendent says, well, if the piece is broken, I'm fine with submitting the request from my phone, but I still how do I know that the manager got it, right? I still want to follow up with a phone call. And we said, well, what if we got a thumbs up back in 2 minutes when he read it? And he's like, oh, well, I guess that would be okay, right? So looking at new software to kind of do that, because that is the biggest thing, right? Between phone calls, text, and emails, right? Everybody's got their own, process. So we just kind of said, when it comes from us going out, at least we'll copy everyone that, needs to be on an email. So, Clint,
what's your preferred method of communication there?
It's kind of work in progress, right? Some of our teams do. I mean, in some ways they don't even have cellular, right? So phones aren't even really a means. unless they go to the job office where, there's the wireless from Starlink. So, and I mean, I guess it really kind of depends. My team's pretty small. It's myself and the superintendent. We support 6 different companies, and it's easier because it's just him and I. We got to keep it all in house. Our company uses a couple of different softwares, and we have a separate logistics team that supports us. But it's just a lot of data entry. Some people, like I'm not using that; they're not familiar with it. It's challenging, right? I think we've gotten better, but I really don't have a good answer. Which is I was just kind of curious. The shared inbox is a very interesting aspect of it, right? You have people in the field that have limited means of communication, and then people in the office that have 4 or 5 different means of communication. So work in progress, I guess. Again, we're kind of looking at, different software packages means that can do that also more efficiently.
Kevin, what are you doing as you're growing from scratch? You get to create that process.
Well, as far as our platform we use, it's on the operational side of it. It's a company called HCSS. We got the equipment aspect side of it as well. We got our daily safety inspections that operators do by QR code, maintenance alert from the inspection. If they mark it down that needs repair, it gets an automatic alert into the equipment platform where the mechanics on the job site or the shop manager or one of my other equipment managers see these alerts if they're in there daily. We're working towards the point of getting like text message alerts to the equipment side, but trying to get that communication back out to the field of even down to the operator. So that part is a work in progress. At least the initial alert directly from the operator, which, I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years. I mean, just because the operator writes something up doesn't mean it makes it to the foreman in a timely manner, to the equipment manager or the mechanic in time. It sometimes can be a week out, but when the operator writes something up of a leaking hose, we get a pretty instantaneous result out of our platform the second that operator does a visual, for example. So getting that feedback back to the field, like I said, that part is a work in progress.
Yeah, Ernie, anything you're doing on the sort of like communication coordination side of things? Because I know that's kind of a gap that you've talked about too.
Yeah, we are in the middle of massive changes, and we're starting with the accounting software. So as the equipment always gets on the back burner, right? We're the last to get money to spend on software changes. We're going back to the future. Old school method, getting FaceTime. So lots of people traveling, getting out there with the customers, going to see all the job sites, and trying to use the phone method right now.
Got it. Cool. Well, I think Britton has a question here. Clint, thanks for joining us here. But we'll bring Britton here, and I think we had a question around AI programs. What's up, Britton?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey man.
So I was curious on your AI usage. I know like some of the systems out there have specific tools within the programs themselves, but are you guys using those systems in the proprietary systems, or are you using APIs to connect to like a third-party API or a third-party AI program to get some of that information that you were talking about before?
At least for me right now, we're not connecting to any third parties right now. We're just kind of using it in-house internal systems. I think down the road in the future, we'll definitely something we'll look at. Right now, there's just, we kind of once we start getting into that and connecting more things like that, we start getting a little bit more of what we want to share, what doesn't want to get out there. So I think in the right scenarios, yes, we would and could, but right now we're just kind of using the system that are there and just working off of that.
Yeah, as far as Huawei Enterprises, we're on the same boat, except for we want to start using the AI stuff, but there's a lot of questions on the security of our information as you start building your AI module, or however you want to say it. So as an AI, I don't want to say person, that's not the right thing to say. The little computer chip, AI, is learning who you are in your company, and it's developing itself. How's that secure within your own company? That's our concern as a company right now. We're not jumping to the AI platform just yet, but it is a target for us to get to on our side.
Yeah, within my telematic software, or I'd say the hardware, when the error codes come up from the ECM, our techs are actually using a little bit of the AI features within the software side of it. So before they actually go and diagnose on their own, they see what the error code is, then they can click on it, and then they can kind of see what the common issues are, what tools do I need to bring out for that repair, and it even starts to go into what's the common parts that are going to be needed. Now, we're not at the point of ordering those parts before we actually get out there and touch it, but it does give that person a good little understanding of what they're getting themselves into and where to check first.
And that's with your telematics software?
Yeah, so you're not going in blind. Mainly for the fleet side, I have not seen the heavy equipment side show us that type of stuff yet. I think the dealers have a little bit more of that.
Okay.
Diesel Laptop does a pretty decent job at that.
Yep,
across the board.
Diesel Laptop, and again, John Deere has just added a new platform too, with a lot of AI-based diagnostics. Same kind of thing Ernie was saying, but for the Deere construction equipment side. So if you do have Deere equipment, it's get with your local dealer. There's a new web-based service advisor that's pretty cool.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like I know this was we did a shop talk specifically around like tangible use cases of how teams are using AI today. And one of the guys in there was like, how our organization talks about is everyone says, what do we want? AI. When do we want it? Now. What do we want to use it for? We don't know. And so I think this will be a future shop talk for sure. Because in that room, there is some really good use cases, right? Where, I think the dream is to have AI kind of like embedded into the workflows instead of the separate sort of intern that you work with to help you with things. And so definitely got into some of the tactical stuff there, particularly around a lot of that like coordination effort that's needed. So I think if there's interest there, we'll probably maybe next month's shop talk, we'll make it more centered around AI and bring in a couple people that chimed in around, how they're using it. Everything from, we heard, chatbot for the field to interact with operators manuals and things that was actually designed around being the voice of the founder of the company who was 3 generations ago, who had passed away. It was like a crazy use case. It was pretty cool. And they had a lot of success, to another one who actually brought in a consultant to actually build out, some predictive capabilities too. So I think everyone's in the sort of like we've got a solution looking for problems area. So bringing more tangible use cases, I think will be a good session for the next one. So
well, while I am on the people side, AI is great for that. Whether I'm making job descriptions, KPIs, setting goals, like what kind of training should these people get? Like that is really helping me out there. I'm not having to search random topics on the internet. It really is able to pull that all in without the ads, without useless information and sponsored targets. So I'm able to pull it in. I can take my ideas, and it's more like a brainstorming tool, right? And then I present it to them. They're like, wow, that's amazing. Where'd you come up with that? I don't know. It took me 3 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, Britton. Stay warm up there. How do we bring Clint back in? It sounds like, Clint, you had another follow-up question here.
No, not at the moment, right?
Sorry.
I might have another one, right? It's a good conversation.
Cool. Well, just to shift gears, I think we have 15 minutes left. So to shift gears, maybe tech is still involved in this, but David had another good question just around like massive sea changes or challenges that are on the horizon. And I think we talked about this a little bit amongst the group that, there's sort of this equipment CapEx, but there's like the next week crisis, right? What happens when, I think Kevin, you brought up that you need whatever, a dozen dozers coming up in a week from now.
I wish it was only a dozen.
Whatever it was. 35. That's a crazy example. Talk to me about, and Ernie, you had some good thoughts too. How is that landscape changing? Sort of the macro changes with tariffs and price of iron, and how is that influencing your strategy with, buy versus rent versus RPO? I think that was a pretty good example. That could be Ernie or Kevin. Both of you guys had good examples there.
I guess I'll kick it off. So yeah, we got been heavily working with the estimating team for the next 6 to 9 months worth of work, because it is heavy. Last year we had a 34% growth in our company, and right now we're anticipating about 50% right now with what's on the books of signed contracts, and it's middle of February. So there's still a lot more to be bid. Yeah, we're going to be stretched out pretty thin as far as working with the quantity of dozers, for one example, or scrapers. We went from running about 30 D6 size dozers across the country. Now we're looking at, I need 30 dozer more on top of where I'm at sitting right now at 30. Sorry, 22, 24, right about there. Still a lot, and that's just for the month of March. And then these are signed contracts. We got these jobs, and there's another batch of about 20 more in May that's got to start up across all over the place. And that's just dozers. Those are support pieces of equipment, and then on top of that, I have a lot of scraper, haul truck, excavator to go locate as well. Really, you got to take the West Coast state out of there of California. Take that out, just block that state out. Between the Arizona or Nevada state line all the way to the East Coast. Not in Alaska. We don't play up there. But north and south, all the way to the border, east and west, except for California, we do play in those spots. So there's equipment everywhere. Big projects in Virginia and Oregon. So it's getting the newer area of Virginia, not knowing a lot of vendors out there, because I can only pull so much out of Colorado before those dealers are about tapped out. And then in lieu of all that, looking at the churn charts of my other current machines I own, where they out an hour wise, how they operating, when am I going to start rotating that out with the current bid schedules of what I have coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ernie, you mentioned the Vorster model of disposal is kind of maybe not holding up sometimes, here and there with everything going on. Can you speak more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have that plan, and then I feel like the boxer says, I got a game plan going in until you get hit in the face.
Yeah,
we tend to get hit in the face every morning, and I need more. That replacement budget in the CapEx, that whole section, we don't end up replacing anything. Those replacements go into new requests, and it's unreal. It's very hard to keep up. I think Kevin's got the right model there, working with estimating. So I've got pre-planning before I just have the request from the field. So I'm able to talk to ownership, and we're getting alternative procurement methods, months in advance. And then you're talking to the OEMs about availability months in advance, as opposed to, I need 20, 30 dozers in a couple weeks. So that's the big thing for us, working on that CapEx budget, but then trying to give visibility to the whole possibilities that are going to be happening in the next 12 to 18 months. So then you have a plan of whether I'm going to RPO, lease, what are our top ends, what other options are out there. I think the days of having a CapEx budget that's about replacement and growth, those days are basically over for growing enterprises. You have to be so much in the loop with the estimating group and seeing what's on the horizon, because it happens so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a tie-in between the estimating teams, and then on top of that, the accounting, the CFO, figuring out when we're really anticipating to have some cash to do your financial, really your financial schemes on when you're going to flip RPOs, saving that money on the 0 to 6 month of zero interest from certain dealers, like finding those little spots in all over the states, really, just where you're going to have the cash available to convert or buy out completely. There's a lot of planning between estimating and the CFO.
Especially when they've never done it before. And Aldridge, it took them 70 years to become a $500 million company, and another 7 to become $1 billion. And that $1 billion turned into 1.2. And now we're looking at 1.4, 8, the growth they've never seen before. So tackle on we're going to need equipment to go with that growth. So just changing the mindset.
Have you felt like, I know David's question is next 1, 3, or 5 years, but we're kind of talking about the next 1, 2, 3 weeks. Have you felt like you've been able to kind of shift towards more of a proactive mindset, or is it really like, the goal is get with estimating on a regular basis, streamline the coordination, once a job starts? And do you think that will always be fluid, or are you thinking, 1, 3, 5 years out, like David's question?
I can kind of speak a little bit of that. So I think we're doing a little bit of both. I think we've come to the realization that we know equipment's not going to get cheaper, right? It's never going to go down in price. It's going to continue to go up, and tariffs may affect it, right? So we keep an eye on those things, but like everybody knows, those change almost daily at this point. But we do kind of look at controlling our costs, right? We've had discussions with OEMs about, hey, we know, the price caps, right? Price increase caps over the next 3 years, right? And we've gotten some OEMs to kind of work with us and kind of agree to terms on that. So, if it's whatever it is, 2%, 3%, if we know we can kind of, limit a cap over the next 1 to 3 years, that does protect us in a way, because we have a job that's a 4-year project. So if we're bidding a job in 2026, that's going to have new equipment rolling in 2030. We also have to account for, what that equipment's going to cost 4 years from now. And it does tie back to estimating. I would say being involved with estimating, speaking with them, giving them the lay of the land too, that, hey, if you bid this job tomorrow and you need this size crane in 6 weeks, it's going to be a rental and this is what you're going to pay, because that crane is 6 months out right now, or it could be a drill, or, any real piece of equipment. If you can kind of limit that up front with the estimating group and they can get the right cost in, it may not be the cheapest, but at least the cost will be right? And that's what we kind of focus on.
Yeah, especially on those design builds that won't even start for 12 to 18 months. What's the dartboard say for what the pricing is going to be in 18 months on equipment?
And then you get also the job site changes as well. Something happens out there, they got to change design or scope or add it on scope. And then all of a sudden you need more equipment as well.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's funny. It's like all these themes kind of blend together a little bit, right? Well, we've got 8 minutes left. We're going to do a bit of like a lightning round with one last kind of pass the mic question. So for any of you guys still hanging on and listening, now's your chance to jump on virtual stage or drop a comment if you guys are interested in hearing perspectives from these folks before we wrap. So we'll start with you, Ernie. In a nutshell, what do you think is one thing that you're doing differently in 2026 that you weren't doing a year ago?
Ooh.
Doing or
I'm not traveling as much. That's a good thing. The wife's happy there. The big thing for me is just trying to set up the team properly, figure out where the growth's going to be. And everything I do right now has to be scalable, because the companies are growing so fast that even if I'm trying to build a project for $1 billion company, it's not good enough. The tech's changing so fast as we see it. So you really have to get back to the principles of where do we make our money? The field. How do we support them? So get back to the basics on some of that.
And then if you could give one piece of advice to a fleet manager that might be 6 months to a year in and maybe already feeling a bit of the weight, what piece of advice would you give that person?
Oh man, build your network. I think I had a good comment this week that came to me in the middle of the night. Some people might think Ernie and Brian and Kevin know everything. We don't, but we know who to call. We got a guy that's doing that type of work, or has seen this kind of model before. Or maybe we need to call Mike Forrester. Hey, what would you do in this circumstance? You got to have those guys on speed dial. I talk to other equipment managers every week. So it's about building your network. Take the time to go to those events like AEMP and just meet with the people. Have a beer with them. See what's going on at their company. You may not need it today, but it's going to be relevant information along your journey.
So more shop talks is what you're saying.
There you go.
Nice. You guys can finally talk about GearFlow now in the last 5 minutes. Kevin, now to you. What's one thing you're doing differently or plan to be doing differently in 2026 that you weren't doing a year ago?
Definitely not getting any more sleep than I was last year. That's for sure. But, it's, as far as the traveling goes, I'm on the same boat as where Ernie's at now. I am building a department. It's getting there, but it's still finding the right people and building them up properly, not just tossing 5 guys at something. It's a progress to get there. You just don't want to have a snowball effect once you get like 9 or 10 people in your group, and then all of a sudden everything starts collapsing, and you can't touch everybody all at the same time the way you want it to get growth, growing up. So, I'm biting on little things at a time. I'm not taking big bites like an alligator. It's little bites at a time. Yeah, I can go take 9 different bites out of something and be okay at it, or take 2 or 3 different bites of something and be really good at it, and make sure those guys that I'm developing are moving down that path I want them to go, then go work on the next item. It's, task management. I always keep on bringing up the thing in my mind is POEM, POEM. Plan out your stuff, organize it, what was it again? God dang it. Execute it, and then manage it by control. So POEM, POEM.
Nice. And then same to you, if you could give one piece of advice to a new fleet manager that's in it, what would you share?
Yeah, a little bit more towards the networking, but also find your mentor. You always got a mentor you're always going to call. You can call 9 different people, know 9 different people, but there's always going to be somebody that, for me, I'm mentoring 1 or 2 different people underneath me. So as someone coming in, someone's going to glom onto you, as a, gray hair and getting a little on the older side now. I got 2 younger guys that are glommed onto me, and then I'm the mentor. Like, I have a mentor or 2 mentors. So, as far as where the level I'm at now, I'm making sure I'm a mentor for the younger ones coming up. So find that person you're comfortable with, and as you grow in through your career, keep that person in contact and update them. You might be working for 2 different companies at some point, but make sure you got a mentor.
All right, Brian, last but not least, one thing you're doing differently or plan to be doing differently this year versus last year.
So plan to do differently and starting to is really, I kind of mentioned before, kind of empowering my staff and making sure that, I was very used to being involved in every detail that I could. I wanted to help be a part of it, right? I can add insight. I can do this. I can help. And at some point, it really does kind of get to be too much as we grow and as our company's grown. So getting some new people in place, letting them kind of build out their own roles and their own responsibilities, and then delegating things that maybe typically I would do, right? Hey, I want you to handle this now, and then we'll just check in every 2 weeks and we'll talk about it, right? I was back to, I would talk to 7 or 8 different managers every day or multiple times a day for, 15 to 20 minutes at a time, which was good because I was staying involved and I knew what was going on, but I was getting nothing done, right? I was working till 9 or 10 o'clock at night trying to do my day job. So, Ernie kind of mentioned it too, getting things siloed up and getting people reporting to the right path. So a person at a lower level can still get a manager's approval or, hey, that's right. But then going to level up if they're talking to me maybe once a day and following up on things. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. One piece of advice.
I would say for a young equipment manager, even if your role is not field-based, spend as much time in the field as you can, right? Even if it's, you got to do some work at, say a little bit later in the day to do your own work, your office work. I know myself, I learned so much more, spending as much time as I could out in the field, just watching the equipment work, watching how the crews operate. You really kind of learn that end of it, right? I mean, I came from a pretty mechanical background, not a construction background, but I learned construction from being out on construction sites for 10 hours a day and then squeezing the paperwork when I can. I think that's it's a key. It's a good way to learn the work and understand what your company does. And you kind of see things at that point. Hey, that doesn't look right, or that thing's shaking way more than it was yesterday. That thing's making a different noise. It's a good way to kind of build yourself up and gain knowledge without having to ask 100 questions, right? You can just sit out there and watch it.
Yeah, on that point, probably all of us learned more on nights and weekends working for free than we did in that 9 to 5, right?
Yeah, and that is, I'm going to piggyback on that as well. That is such a huge thing to be out in the field, not just watching how the crew you're currently working on one project or you're visiting multiple other projects, how everybody's building the work. You will end up seeing some inefficiencies and, hey, that worked really good in that type of soil, for example. And then at the level where I'm at now, or all three of us are working with the estimating teams now. So you're starting to bring up those conversations of what kind of soil are we in, really fatty clays or rock material or sand. It's just all those questions start popping in your head, and then you're helping the estimating team at that point. And most likely 3/4 of them have never even been on a project in the past 2 to 3 years. Most of them.
As Ron said, watch the old guys. It helps. Well, thanks everyone. This is great. If you guys want more of this, it's coming no matter what. So we're gonna keep these up monthly. I'm feeling like this AI topic is kind of burning on people's minds. So that might be the next one, but please drop me DMs in LinkedIn or shoot me an email. It's just ben@gearflow.com. I want to hear from you if you like this. Also, if you're interested in, what GearFlow does, of course, here to help you there. But big thank you to you guys, Ernie, Kevin, Brian, for taking this leap. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you guys that chimed in, and please keep that feedback coming on how we can continue to add value here. And see you all in Vegas.
Love it. See you in Vegas.
Yeah, well.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.